Alright guys, this is going to be a short video. I've got a nice little line to share with you. If you play the Vienna game like me, there's an interesting line that I've had a couple of times come up. And you need to know how to respond to it, and it can be absolutely crushing. And it's kind of similar in a way to the Halloween Gambit. Now, if you're not too familiar with the Halloween Gambit, this is roughly how it goes. So it's like e4, e5. You basically get the 4 knights game here. And from this position, you can play knight takes e5, okay? And you're offering a whole piece at this point in return for a pawn. Now, if black captures, this can be very, very tricky and very pressuring, and there's lots of ways to go wrong with it. So you follow up with d4, kicking the knight. Knight has to retreat. g6 is actually the best way to go, but sometimes you'll see c6 as well. And now you can play e5. So these pawns are just crushing these knights. And the knight will very often have to retreat all the way back to g8. So in return for the knight that you've given up, you've got a huge lead and massive control over the center of the board. So if you want to go attacking now, you know, you could bring queen out, bishop out, loads of ideas in this. So anyway, as for the Vienna, if you're a Vienna player, so this is a game that I literally just played, right? And my opponent's rated between 1400, 1500, and we have e4, e5, and now the Vienna game, knight to c3, and knight to f6. So that then leads to the Vienna Gambit with f4, but my opponent here declines the gambit and plays knight to c6. Now, this is where it gets a little bit similar, okay? So if knight to c6, now this is not a great move, okay? You can capture the pawn on e5, threatening this knight here, okay? And if the knight captures, look where we are, familiar territory, d4, okay? And again, and then e5 follows because the, yeah, well, either way, either way is actually fine. Kicking the knight, and that knight again in the game had to retreat back to its starting square. I mean, there it gets captured by my knight, there it gets captured by my knight, and here again. So this is very similar now to the Vienna Gambit accepted, with the knight being forced to retreat. Likewise, if you have queen here trying to pin the pawn, you just reply with queen to e2 as well. So I'll show you how the game continued. It doesn't go on for very much longer. I bring out my bishop. Now, this is actually a mistake. What I should have done, because this diagonal is open, right? You need to play knight to f3, okay? Just to prevent ideas of this queen coming down. But yeah, so in the game I play bishop to here. Now, if the queen had come down there, that could have been uncomfortable, but you know, I still have g3 in that situation. Black brings his bishop out. I bring my queen out to f3, threatening checkmate. So forcing move, right, with development. We have queen e7. Now I bring my knight here to protect this knight. We have a pawn push, and then castles kingside, which is very typical in the Vienna. So now I have to look 3 attackers against this pawn. I've got bishop, queen, and rook. I believe my opponent miscalculated at that point because he captured the pawn on e5. I take on f7 with my bishop and with check. Queen takes, and my opponent is simply down a queen. Goes to king 8, king d8, and then my knight comes in. So I'm threatening queen takes here as well, and my opponent there resigns. So if you're a Vienna player, then this is a line that you need to know. Have this one memorized because it's a whole heap of fun. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you very soon.